everyone, welcome back for another video. Today's is a slightly fun video. I'm going to be tier ranking the Greek islands that I have visited. I am fortunate enough that I've been to Greece many times. I first went when I was 18 months old and have basically visited almost every year up to last year was the most recent time I went. I've been to Greece in many different forms. I've done package holidays, sailing holidays, walk-in holidays, and have visited, again, fortunately, lots of different islands. There's still lots of islands that I haven't been to and that I would like to, but I thought I would tier rank the ones I have done, just for fun, to compare it to other people, or if you are looking to go to Greece, to give you sort of a general overview of some of the different places. So this is just for fun. I'm doing it based on the islands that feel the most Greek. And so, yeah, I'm going to be comparing sort of what you can do there, the scenery, and just sort of the experience I had with each island. So yeah, I'm going to be tier ranking it into 4 different groups. So I've got the Olympic tier, which is going to be sort of the top tier, then heroic, which is sort of like the next tier down, demigod, and then the underworld. So any islands or places that end up in the underworld, it is purely because it didn't sort of have a vibe or a feel of Greece compared to the other islands. So I don't want to upset or offend anyone. And if you disagree with some of my rankings, feel free to explain why in the comments. Please be kind. But yeah, let's get into it. So I've got my little pot of islands. So I'm going to just pick them out one by one, and yeah, I'll try and get through them quite quickly so the video doesn't end up too long. So the first one. Okay, we have got Syros. So I'm going to put this in the heroic tier. Before I went to Syros, I'd never heard of it. It was part of an island hopping tour that I went on, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was sort of one of those hidden gems. So Syros is part of the Cycladic Islands, sort of in the middle of Greece. They form a circle. And yeah, I'd never heard of it. And it's actually the capital city or the capital island of the Cycladic Islands. The more well-known ones around here are Santorini and Mykonos, so no wonder I hadn't heard of it. But yeah, so the city itself, the main city, is called Ermiopoli, which it's very small, but it's very cute, and just, yeah, lots of things to do. The buildings are very impressive. But there are also some beaches as well. I visited the beach of Galisas, which was a lovely sandy beach. There were lots of tavernas around, so if you're looking for a beach holiday, that would be the place to base yourself. If not, the city itself is well worth a visit. Okay, the next one is Kefalonia. So I am going to put this in the demigod. I'm actually just getting my notes here because I forgot to get them out. So yeah, I'm going to put this in the demigod section purely because I've been to Kefalonia twice and it poured with rain the whole time, both times I've been. It could be because one time I went in May and one time I went in September. And so that's sort of like the end of the start and the end of the peak season when the weather's not as reliable. But yeah, I just found that because of the rain, there wasn't that much to do. I stayed in the village of Scala, which does have some turtle nesting sites, which is exciting. If you're looking for a beach holiday, this would be the one. We went to Kefalonia with a package holiday, and I don't remember there being many sort of day trips offered. Maybe if you hire a car, you'd be able to explore more of the island. But yeah, just for me, Kefalonia was not my favourite, and therefore that's why it's going in the demigod section. Okay, next one is Paxos, and this is going straight in the Olympic section. I've got a couple of videos on my channel already about Paxos, and this is one of my favourite islands. in the whole of Greece. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's so unspoilt. It's a very small island, but there's lots to do, but it's so easy to get around. There's 3 main villages. I won't go into it too much because I've already got lots of content about Paxos on the channel. There's loads of beaches, lots of amazing walks. There's sort of wonderful scenery. For example, you've got Tripotis Arch, which is well worth a visit, and also you've got the nearby island of Antipaxos, which has just got some of the clearest water I have ever seen in my life. And yeah, the whole island is just beautiful. There's lots of places to eat, the people are lovely, and yeah, this is definitely in the Olympic range. It is one of my favourites. The next one is Corfu. So I think I'm going to put this one in the demigod section just because I feel like, I mean, it's a lovely island. However, some of it is very touristy and it's almost like they're catering to the English. And so there's some parts that don't sort of feel very Greek. Corfu town is lovely. There's a real Venetian influence, which is lovely, and it's lovely to wander around the town. You've got lots of different resorts. You've got Sidari, Guvia, Paliokastritsa, and these are all good for if you want a beach holiday. But yeah, I would be willing to give Corfu another chance. I didn't have the best experience of it because I was going through some family issues when I went, so I think that dampened it as well. But yeah, Corfu is one place that I would definitely give another chance to. But for now, it's going in the demigod tier. Okay, next one is Spetses. So this is part of the Saronic Islands. I visited here as part of a sailing trip I did. So I'd never heard of Spetses before, but I was very pleasantly surprised. So I'm going to put this in the heroic tier, I think. Yeah, I had no knowledge of Spetses at all before I went. We spent an afternoon here and then stayed overnight on the boat in the harbour, and we had a whole afternoon to explore the island, and we hired quad bikes and basically did a whole loop around the island, stopping off at lots of different places. There's lots of different beaches, and you can sort of obviously get off the quad bike. There's lots of nice viewpoints as well. The reason I'm putting it into the heroic tier is because I'd never heard of it. Lots of people haven't heard of it, and therefore it's very unspoiled. It's very quiet. There are the typical Greek whitewash buildings with the blue domes or the blue shutters, and so it's sort of a less touristy version of the sort of whole Greek scene with the whitewash buildings that people go to where they go to more touristy places. So yeah, Spetses is well worth a visit, which is why it's going in the heroic section. Okay, Skiathos. This is in my top 5 islands, so I'm going to put this in the heroic section. I don't know if it's quite as Olympic level, but yeah, really enjoyed Skiathos. So yeah, this is part of the Sporades Island, which is sort of in the north of Greece. It's a fairly small island, but there's lots of villages and beach resorts. So I stayed in the town of Troules, which has a lovely sandy beach and lots of different restaurants and tavernas to eat at. Another resort is Koukounaras, which I think is further down the east of the island. Sorry, I'm not good with my east and wests. Skiathos town is well worth a visit. It's very busy, very bright, vibrant, and then there are lots of good public transport connections. There's one road that sort of links the whole island, and so you can get on a bus, go to Skiathos town, and then go back to your resort. It's very easy to do. There are lots of trips to neighbouring islands, for example to the island of Skopelos, which is where Mamma Mia was filmed. So if you're a big fan of Mamma Mia, I would well recommend visiting Skopelos. So you visit the beaches that they used in the film, and you can even visit the hill with the church from the wedding. It's 199 steps up, and there's no way Meryl Streep could have run up that after singing The Winner Takes It All. But yeah, definitely well worth a visit. Okay, The next one, Zante. So I feel about Zante the way I feel about Corfu. So I am going to put it in the demigod section. However, I would definitely be up for revisiting it. Again, I feel like it's sort of Greece for the English. Sort of, it's very touristy, but it is beautiful. I stayed in the beach resort of Alikez, which was really nice. The beach was lovely, and again, there's lots of tavernas and places to eat. There's lots of day trips you can do. So one, for example, is to the Shipwreck Beach. You can take a day trip. It's only accessible by boat, so you have to do a boat trip. You used to be able to get off the boat and actually walk on the beach. However, a week after I went, the rock collapsed. There was a massive rock slide, and now you can no longer go on the beach. You have to look at it from afar, which is a shame, but I can get why they've done that for health and safety reasons. You can also hop across the water to ancient Olympia, which is well worth a visit. Obviously, it is the site of the original ancient Olympic Games. So yeah, would highly recommend doing that. So yeah, Zante for me is a bit like Corfu. It's sort of not as Greek as some of the other islands, but I would definitely be tempted to revisit it. Another thing Zante is famous for is its turtles. So there are opportunities to go and volunteer on turtle nesting sites. So that would be something that I would be interested in doing in the future. Okay, next one is Naxos. So this is part of the Cycladic Islands again, and I'm going to put this in the heroic tier. So yeah, I visited Naxos as part of a walking holiday. It was our last island that we visited, and again, I haven't really heard of it. It's now quite an up and coming island. Lots more people are hearing about it, so it's becoming more popular. So you can get there either by ferry or a flight from Athens. The main town is very vibrant. There's lots to do. You've got the Temple of Apollo, which if you time the sunset just right, the sun shines through the arch, which is absolutely stunning. And there are lots of walks around the island. So yeah, it's very quiet, very traditional, lots of traditional food, tavernas. So yeah, highly worth recommending Naxos. Okay, the next one is Hydra or Hydra. So I visited this as part of a sailing holiday. We spent an afternoon here. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend staying on Hydra. There's not much to do, but it's definitely worth visiting for a day or an afternoon. There's lots of hikes around the main town. It's very steep, but once you get to the top, there are lots of viewpoints. And Hydra is famous the fact that there are no cars on the island. So I don't know if it's the only island in Greece that does not have cars on it, but they get transport things around using donkeys, which is cool to sort of just see them on the side of the road as you're walking around the town. Okay, the next one is Crete. So this is going to go, I debated on putting this in the heroic or the Olympic, but I think it's going to go in the heroic section. But Crete is one of my favourite islands. It is the largest island in Greece, and it is perfect for first timers, for your first visit to Greece. There are lots of towns. You've got Hania, you've got Rethymnon, you've got Heraklion. So you'll fly into either Heraklion or Hania, but I'd recommend visiting Hania and Rethymnon as sort of a day trip. There are lots of scenic places. You have the beach town of Elefsinici, which is right down in the southwest of the island. And Elefsinici is famous for its lagoon. So the water is hot, it's like a bath. But the main draw of Elefsinici is that the sand on the edge of the water is pink. For some reason, I don't know what it is, whether it's in the sand or in the water, but yeah, the sand on the shore is pink. Now, I was expecting the whole beach to be pink. It's not. It is just like little bits, little trails along the waterfront, but it's still pretty cool. You've got Lake Kaunas, which is a massive lake in the west of the island. I last visited here in about 2001, and at the time they didn't actually know how deep the lake was. It's it's pretty deep. So you can see the turquoise colour where it's still sort of fairly shallow, and then it suddenly goes a really dark blue where it suddenly goes really deep. And yeah, at the last time I visited, they didn't know how deep it went. And then for any adventurous people, you have got the Samaria Gorge, which is about a 10-mile walk through mountains and valleys. I mean, it's a gorge, it kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, I haven't done this, but I'd be prepared to do it. Obviously, maybe not in the height of summer. But yeah, if you're feeling adventurous, you've definitely got lots of lovely walks that you can do on Crete. And lastly, another reason why I really like Crete is the history of it. So you have the island of Spinalonga, which is where it was an isolated island where people with leprosy were sent. There is a book called The Island by Victoria Hislop, which this tells the story of this island. So yeah, people were basically sent there on exiled, and they had to live on this island if they had leprosy. So yeah, that's a really interesting read and an interesting place to visit. And then also you've got the Palace of Knossos or Knossos. I've heard it pronounced different ways. I'll put the spelling on the screen. And this is an ancient ruin, which is where is said to have held the labyrinth where the Minotaur was held, and also the prison where Icarus and his father escaped from. And obviously Icarus is famous for the story where he flew too close to the sun and his wings melted. So yeah, there's lots of sort of cultural and mythical history around Crete, which is why I'm putting it in the heroic section. Okay, the next island is Mykonos, and I feel like this is going to be a bit controversial, but I am putting this in the underworld. I really wanted to visit Mykonos. It looked beautiful. Obviously, you've got the windmills, you've got Little Venice, you've got Mykonos town, you've got lots of beach resorts. We stayed in a village called Ornos, which had a lovely sandy beach. However, Mykonos to me is not Greece. It does not have the traditional Greek vibes that many of the other islands have. It is unnecessarily expensive. I mean, for the back sunbeds on Ornos Beach, I mean, this was in 2019. It was €20 for one sunbed, and you got progressively more expensive until it was about €150 for one sunbed at the front. So yeah, it was just unnecessarily expensive, and that went for the food in tavernas as well. It wasn't anything special. If anything, it was trying too hard. It wasn't proper Greek traditional food that sort of you look for when you go to Greece. So yeah, I'm glad I went, but I would not rush to go back, and I probably wouldn't have spent, I spent a week there, and I wouldn't spend longer than that, maybe a couple of nights there. Now, the only good thing, I don't mean that in a bad way, one reason to visit Mykonos is that it is very close to the island of Delos, which was an incredibly important and culturally significant base in ancient Greek times. It was basically the hub of the trading of Greece, and now it's an archaeological ruin site, but it is well worth a visit, and the best way to get there is from Mykonos. So yeah, go to Mykonos if you want to go to Delos, but other than that, there are, in my opinion, better islands to visit. Okay, the next island is Paros. So I'm putting this in the heroic tier. This is, in my opinion, a better island to visit than Mykonos. It's got the same sort of, it's got all the whitewash buildings and the little towns and sort of with all the alleyways, but it's not got the vibe of Mykonos. It's again more traditionally Greek. However, it is becoming more popular, so I'm hoping it won't go the way of Mykonos. I can't find my notes. So yeah, there are two sort of towns that I'd recommend visiting. That's Parika and Nausa or Noosa. They've got sort of your harbour front with your whitewash buildings, which are beautiful. There is a lot of history on Paros. It was part of the Byzantine movement. We did lots of lovely walks. We did the Byzantine Trail, which is well worth doing. And also public transport was pretty good here for Greece. Greece is renowned for being unreliable with its public transport, but yeah, we managed to get around the island using the public buses pretty well. So yeah, I put that in heroic. I'd love to visit Paros again. I only stayed here a couple of nights, so yeah, would love to revisit. Okay, the next one is Santorini, and again I think this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I'm putting this in the underworld as well. It is an incredibly beautiful island, however it is very overhyped. I wouldn't recommend staying for more than 2 nights. The cave, like the hotels carved into the caldera, are worth seeing, as is the main town of Thera and the little village of Ia, which is where the blue domes are. But it's unnecessarily expensive. It's very overhyped, and for me personally, there are more traditional Greek islands to visit. However, there is a lot of history on Santorini. Obviously, it is a volcanic island, and there is an archaeological site called Akatiri, which is well worth visiting. They are still salvaging remains from the volcanic eruption, and as you walk around you can see the people sort of excavating, that's the word I wanted, all the different ruins. So yeah, that's well worth a visit. Red Beach is also another one. So the rock face is completely red, which is sort of really striking as a landscape. Wouldn't recommend going onto the beach just because there are still rock falls, but from afar it's definitely a good viewpoint to visit. So yeah, I wouldn't say no to going to Santorini, but for me there are more traditional Greek islands. Okay, the next one is Athens. So obviously this is the capital city. I'm putting this in the heroic section, obviously because of its history. It is the capital city, but also it's easy to access a load of other islands. You can catch the ferry from Piraeus to different places all over Greece. You've got the Acropolis and the Parthenon, which are well worth a visit. Obviously that's the most sort of famous landmark in Athens. You've got the Olympic Stadium from when they held the Olympics in 2004. There's lots of nice neighbourhoods. My favourite one was Plaka. So there's lots of tavernas and bars where you can just sort of sit and people watch, and the metro system is pretty good in Athens, so it's really easy to get around. There's also lots of rooftop bars, which many of them have a view of the Acropolis and the Parthenon. So yeah, I really liked Athens, would love to go back, and yeah, obviously it's the capital of Greece, so it's going in the heroic tier. And then the last one, I don't know if this is fate or whatever. This is the area of the Peloponnese, and I am putting this in the Olympic tier. This is my favourite place in the world. I've already got a couple of videos about this place on my channel, where one of the videos details why it's my favourite place in the world. But yeah, this is probably my most visited place in Greece. It's such a lovely place, but I'm focusing specifically on the area of the Mani, which is the Peloponnese is made up of 3 sort of fingers, and the Mani is the middle one, and on the Mani is a beautiful village called Stupa. It's just so calm, it's so serene, it's perfect for relaxing. It's got gorgeous beaches, it's got sunsets that rival other well-known places. Santorini, I'm looking at you. So yeah, it's perfect for a place if you just want to relax. However, again, there is lots of history. About an hour's drive away, you've got the village of Sparta. It's not that impressive for its sort of significance in cultural history, but obviously you could then say you've been to Sparta. You can also access ancient Olympia here, so the site of the birthplace of the Olympic Games, and you've also got the Diros caves as well, which are well worth visiting. So yeah, Stupa, but the Peloponnese is my favourite place in the world, and I'm sure I will return there hopefully soon. But yeah, that is all the islands. Would love to know if people agree with me. Obviously, I've not been to everywhere in Greece. I've realised I've not been to any of the Dodecanese islands, so Rhodes, Samos, any sort of the west side. So if there's anywhere there that you would recommend, then sort of leave that below in the comments for other people. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.